Greetings, Coincall fam. It's Professor Satoshi, and today is August 7th, 2024, and we had a very rocky last 24 hours, so I want to do a quick, hopefully quick, 15 to 20 minute video updating on markets, as well as opportunities in the options market at this time. But I think first we need to cover, price action wise, where we are, how we got here, maybe do a little bit of forecasting, but also, what can be done right now at this current juncture. So, as many of you all probably already know, the markets took a slide starting, I think August 2nd really was when things really started turning on Friday. Um, few different narratives here. We had number one, Jump selling a lot of their Ethereum, potentially other assets. That's not 100% confirmed. Number two, we had the war escalations between um, United States, Russia, Iran, as well as Israel and Palestine. We also had number three. I think this is taking larger part of the mind share, and it's the Japanese yen carry trade unwind. Um, a lot of different reasons as to why we got here. The point being is that we had devol spike up to levels that we have not seen for a long time. This spike in the Bitcoin's volatility index um, spiked up to 92. We haven't seen spike up to 92 since really FTX. This event was much more volatile, or at least the market was pricing it much more volatile than even the Bitcoin ETF itself, which printed about 73 back in January of this year. So very volatile move. If I had a gun to my head, I would say that the devol index is not going to get back up to 92, and I think vol will actually calm down. I'm of the opinion that that was kind of the worst of it. There is a report by J.P. Morgan saying that the Japanese yen carry trade, which is really the reason for the cause of risk markets to fall so sharply as they did, it's about 50% unwound, and that means there's 50% left remaining. But I think there's reason for that 50% to be kind of the front load damage to the price of Bitcoin and other risk assets. I think if it were to unwind in the future or continue unwinding, it would be less severe than what we have seen in the last 72 hours. Now, what that means is I think there could be some chop for the next 2 weeks, and potentially it could chop upwards, is my base case. So what that means is, as options traders, is we could be actual sellers of volatility here. So it would have been nice to sell the 50K call, 50K put option when they were selling for $2,000 each for August 9th. I believe now they're selling for $200, so that's a 90% drop in the value of those put options. And people tend to buy insurance when it's too late, especially for financial assets like Bitcoin. People tend to buy the put options, after, the big move is done. So I'm not saying that we can't, maybe perhaps test some of this bounce here. But one trade that I am thinking about here is a short put spread. So perhaps shorting, 51K for next week, and then longing a 47 or even 48K, depends how on kind of like where you want to capture that spread. But if you're of the opinion that we're not going to revisit these lows right here, you could be interested, and this is something that I'm interested in putting on for next week expiration, is short 51K and then long 48 or even 47, 46. I haven't taken a look yet, but it's just something I'm thinking about putting on, is the short put spread. The other trade that I'm interested in putting on is actually for upside. So May not happen in August because I am thinking, and this is forecasting, obviously I'm totally predicting here, not sure exactly what's going to happen, but perhaps some chop for next 7 days, as people make their way out because they're scared of the market. They think that will drop further. But I am thinking that people are willing to buy this dip should we continue to provide a further pullback, uh, and until the sellers are exhausted, because I do think most of the larger sellers of Bitcoin should be done by now. And again, that is just a prediction. And towards the end of August, perhaps we have a chance to attack 60,000. So we first had this very, mechanical short covering and also people buying dip. Now we just today we had our sell-off, people buying the lows, want to take their 15% move. Um, then a little bit more chop and perhaps resolve to the upside by the end of August. So one way to express that is to long the 60K and maybe short 64, 65. So just to visualize this, um, I don't think we'll get back to 60. It'll be nice, but Bitcoin moves at a much slower pace these days. So really, for the end of August, interested in longing a call option. This is not matched up to the dates. Excuse me. Anyways, so chop until maybe even start going up mid-August, potentially around here. So chop until mid-August, so one more week of chop, and then make a move for 60K. So one way to express that, again, long 60K call, short 65, or perhaps 64. That's one way to express upside after such a volatile move downwards. Perhaps we have a much larger mean reverting move to the upside. Um, and I don't think that's too unreasonable to think about. I think if you look at, let me just delete some of these. So options talk aside, if we just look at the price action itself, and we were trying to take a directional bet here. Number one, I think the short put spread is interesting because puts are in demand, given that people are afraid of the price action. Short put spread to get a credit, and then longer dated a call spread to play for upside after this chop resolves itself. So if you really think about it, Bitcoin is at it's kind of in a range here. So I see this as a range between 72K up here and 60K here, and then now a lower part of the range, which is 50K to 60K. So clearly right now we're trading in this lower part of the range down here. And for now, I see it as two ranges. You got this top part here, and then bottom part here. We are clearly in the bottom part now. Technically, anything in here is fair game. That includes 60K. That includes 49.5K. Price could even, come back down here and check, test this wick demand here because it was a very inefficient move. But will it make a new low? I'm not too sure, but right now, obviously, I'm thinking it won't make a new low, which is why I'm interested in a short put spread for potentially next week. Of course, protected with the long side of that put spread at 46 or 48K to make sure my loss is limited. The other thing I'm thinking about that's interesting to look at is the term structure. So we obviously have very, very high near dated, and then it drops off until really the US election November 8th. We have a little bit of a spike up there, 2%, nothing too significant, and then it becomes more normalized. I do find it interesting. The skews right now for the weeklies and the monthlies are positive, and then for the 3-month and 6-month, they are negative. So people are betting on potential near, 1 week to 1 month upside. Find that interesting to information. And then in terms of the spreads, Obviously, there's going to be a very, very wide spread here. Realized is on top, and then implied is on bottom. So, we just had a very, very large move realized in the market, and for that reason, realized volatility is at over 100, and then right now the market implied is at 62. So, technically speaking, um, it doesn't make sense to be a seller because of such a large move. But in general, the way I like to think about it is, do I think that the volatility will calm down from here? And if I had to take a guess, I would say yes, because we spiked up to 90 and now we're down to 60. So, down 33% already, um, as an estimate. And I think that further moves in the market would be, less volatile in general than what we just saw, spike up to 90. Could we potentially spike up a little higher on a wick check? Yes, I'm not ruling that out, but I'm just saying that this move in the DVOL index was more volatile than the Bitcoin ETF itself. Um, and we also had, the initial war outbreak between Israel and Iran up here around March, April, I believe. Yeah, right here. So this is a very, very large move. Definitely over 3 standard deviation move. So I'm thinking now the market needs to chop a little bit and then volatility subsides. So you have this like maybe 1 to 2 week period to capture sell some vol, and then potentially even longer. Um, but I do think it does make sense to be a seller of vols here, as D-vol index spiked up to 90. I think makes sense for for someone to think that, from 90 we're going to calm down from there. That's my opinion, of course. Um, None of this is financial advice, but that's just how I'm thinking about this market right now. Ethereum, I'm not as interested in trading Ethereum options right now, but similar story here, right? Like implied are at 75 and realize 134. You have this massive spread here. Um, you have to think to yourself, is in the future, is the market going to have a more volatile move than what just happened? Um, if so, I mean, yeah, maybe you should, and I guess it depends on the direction, but could be buy or puts if you think that, there's further downside in store. I personally would not be a buyer puts. I mean, I mentioned earlier before that I'm a fan of the short put spread. So not exactly a fan of being a buyer puts, even if we do have a little bit more downside. I think this move down, personally speaking, options data apart, is is starting to look a little overextended to the downside. So, my bet is that we chop a little bit, um, and then have a stab at a bigger mean reversion move upwards. That's my bet. So chop and then bigger mean reversion move upwards, 60K, maybe 62, and then we'll take it from there. Anyways, I know this has been a pretty challenging 72 hours for the crypto community, so I wanted to check in on the Coincall fam. Again, I'm in the Telegram if anyone wants to chat. Always happy to chat, talk shop, options, markets related. Anyways, cheers everybody, and I'll catch you all in the next one.